Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. You can hear me? All right, cool. I think I will start now. It's already 2:31. All right, so hi. I hope everybody is doing great. Yeah, wherever you are. Okay, stay safe. Yeah. Okay, so allow me to introduce myself. I am Dr. Madihah Sheikh Abdul Aziz, Academic Coordinator and Lecturer at the Center for IT Advancement, CITA, and Kuliah of Information and Communication Technology, International Islamic University, Malaysia. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we start with our talk today, allow me to share with you some information about CITA, Center for IT Advancement. All right, at our center, we offer 2 master's programs, all right, as well as organizing various short courses trainings related to information technology and computer science. Okay, so the first master's program, we have Masters in Business Intelligence and Analytics, MBIA, okay, that offers in response to emerging trends in advanced applications of ICT technologies to enhance intelligence and analytical capabilities in business decision making. Okay, so that is the first master's program. And then the second one, we have related in security, master program in protective security management, MPSM, okay, in cooperation with the Malaysian Chief of Government Security Office, CGSO. Okay, so if you like to know more about our programs at CITA, Kuliah of ICT International Islamic University Malaysia, you can log on to our website, okay, at in IIUM website. You can just go to CITA, Center for IT Advancement. We will share with you the link later, in the chat box. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, today, on behalf of CITA KICT, we are honored to introduce you to our guest speaker. Okay, we have Professor Jose Curto Diaz from Spain. He will be sharing with us today his view entitled Data-Driven or Nothing. Okay, so before we start, allow me to share with you a little bit about his biography. Okay, so Jose is a consultant, data scientist, entrepreneur, and professor who has helped many companies to create competitive advantages based on data. He believes that the combination of data, models, technology, and experience is the ultimate blend, to help organizations around the world to provide better services and create new products. His expertise comprises data technologies, methodologies, and strategies, and how they can be applied to solve business problems, improve decision making, discover hidden insights, validate business hypotheses, and create and create data products and services. He complements his professional career at AthenaCore with a passion for higher education, being an adjunct professor at IE Business School, Spain. Okay, so I would like to also welcome Miss Isma Hussein, who is also a representative from IE University. Okay, thanks for joining us today. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us all welcome our guest speaker, Jose. Over to you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for the introduction. It's for me a pleasure and honor being here today and being able to share some of the things, some of the insights, some of my understanding of this incredible business opportunity for all the organization. So today we are going to speak about data-driven or nothing. Just a moment, I will share my screen. Are you able to see my screen, everyone? Awesome. So, as already been introduced, I'm a professor at IE University where I teach in many different programs about analytics and how analytics can transform organizations. And at the same time, an entrepreneur, which means I try to help organizations to become data-driven. And that's why I believe, and that's part of my core belief, obviously, that data is a critical asset for all organizations. And I try to be everywhere as much as possible. Obviously, with the COVID right now, it's not feasible. And now I'm here in Malaysia. But in the past, I used to travel a lot, just to give you a glimpse. Last year, I was in 65 different locations. So it's fantastic. As you can imagine, being able to speak with so many companies and being able to discover what they do and which is the situation that they are facing. But before jumping to the content, maybe you don't know about University. So let me introduce a little bit about this university with a very, very short video. All right, I'm able to. Are you able to hear?
Is the video with music?
Sorry?
Do the video has music or just the
Yeah,
video? Oh
it's
yeah,
not working.
We can't hear the video. Sorry, we can't hear the sound.
Oh, that's strange. No audio. Oh, well. So basically, it seems that the video is not working right now. In our university, as you can see in these different images, what we try to do is to tackle different challenges using different technologies, from augmented reality, artificial intelligence, blockchain, mobile. And the idea behind is that we help our students to be as innovators as they can imagine, because there are so many different problems in reality that must be solved and we need to tackle. We want them to develop their potential. And we believe that in order to do that, we must combine innovative technologies, we must combine innovative learning approaches, and well, this is our business school. Sorry about the small issues with the audio. I don't know what's happening right now. Okay, so I will start with one particular comment. What we may think that why data is so relevant, is this really a trend in the market? It doesn't make sense to pay attention to data as a critical asset. So the best way to answer this question is to think about and to present about different examples. So let's start with the first one. Probably you know about Netflix or similar streaming services. One thing that they are using with data is they are able to capture customer preferences and behavior. Why they do that? Not only to recommend us their business, the different TV shows and documentaries and movies that we love, but they are able to consider how to expand their portfolio. In particular, they are able to detect these TV shows that have a very good storytelling, but they have been canceled for many reasons. For example, Cobra Kai, that it was released in YouTube Red, the YouTube paid service, but it was not able to gain traction. But they found that it was something that could be very interesting for their, particular, customers. So what happens? That basically what they do is that they detect these particular videos and then they are able to transform them into global success, combining, the recommender engines and many different data analytics techniques. And they have done that for many different TV shows, from, Star Wars, the Clone Wars season 5, for children, to Cobra Kai. What else? Searching for an example that it's local. Let's speak about Grab. As you know, Grab, they have many different services. So many that sometimes it's quite complicated, to find what you're looking for. So they know about that. So what they try to do, they try to help you to identify, your preferences, the services that you need, depending on your location, and many other aspects like, popularity, habits, and so on. And they present the content based on your preferences, trying to help you, find faster what you need. That means the right content and the right services in the palm of your hand. So these couple of previous examples that were related with customer data and recommendation engines. But there are many other ways that we can, many other things that we can do. Probably you know about Costco, a chain of supermarkets. So in this case, instead of thinking about how we can present the information better to the consumer, what they do is to analyze the consumer patterns, what they have purchased, which products, when they bought it, and match that with potential risk that sometimes emerge in some of the products. Like, for example, there is a component and that they found that is, dangerous for our health in a ice cream, and then they identified that particular, product in your purchasing, history, and then they communicate directly with the customers, which means that they are avoiding potential risk issues. They are not the only one. Another interesting approach, and that is completely different. It's a company that is called Applied Sciences. Applied Sciences, what they do is like they recognize that we have an issue so huge, so important to solve, which is we throw away a lot of food. Why? For many reasons, but most of the times it's like we have very delicate products like a strawberry, and we purchase that, but sometimes we are not buying. So the supermarket is throwing the food. We don't pay attention. We leave it behind outside the fridge, and then it decays. And they thought, could it be that we can do something? Yeah, they tried to solve this problem. How we extend the life shelf of these products, not only in the supermarkets, but at home as well. And this way, we don't throw away, we don't waste so much food. So as you can imagine, there's a combination between, biotechnology and machine learning and big data technologies, because through big data and machine learning, they validate, they know exactly, they are able to assess the quality of the product. That means how many days this protection is working. So for example, in the case of, the strawberry or the apple, they are able to extend from maybe 2, 3, 4 days up to 30 days. Oh, that's amazing. It can change completely many aspects in this industry, from the amount of energy that we need to keep these products in perfect condition, the transport that we need, and when we grab them from the field and we bring them to the supermarket. I used to live in UK a long time ago, and I was like surprised that, for example, tomatoes, strawberries, they didn't have flavor. And this product can change completely the way everything works. Another interesting example is Target. Again, using consumer data, the idea is that they are able to identify shifts in the products that they are purchasing, and based on those shifts, discover new situations. Like, for example, if one of the customers is pregnant, and based on that, they can identify the stage of the pregnancy and start recommending the right products for each one of the stages. As you can imagine, we are changing the customer experience. And the last one, and probably are you aware, or I'm hoping that you're aware, because this happens 2 days ago. AlphaFold, which is a program from DeepMind, and DeepMind belongs to Google, has been able, to be one of the first solutions that the experts consider that, is providing a solution feasible for the industry to predict the protein structure based on amino acidic sequence. And you may say, why we want that? Because it can help us to accelerate and to support vaccine creation. And in this case, in the context of that we are facing right now with COVID, this is like very big news. But not only that, it opens the door, and this is like, some people is calling this like the biggest success of DeepMind, and not only on DeepMind, but in this field, it opens the door to find, to understand many different illnesses that are linked to proteins. So it's amazing. It's very good news. I hope that with all these examples, you realize that companies are using data for many different aspects. Research, helping the consumers, treating them in a different way, solving issues. So I need to be honest with you. In my humble opinion, organizations face a major challenge. Why? Because it's not only that they need to master data technologies. It's not only that they need to treat data as a critical asset. They are in the middle in this digital transformation. And the digital transformation requires, from one side, optimization, being able to do what they did better, with less resources, more efficient, more productivity. But from the other side, being able to provide innovative solutions, innovative ways to interact with the consumer, to provide, new services. Here you've got several examples. For example, we want to have loyal, very happy, very engaged customers. We want to create these highly competitive customer journeys. We want to engage with our employees. We want to scale the way we approach with consumers or with employees. In order to do all these different, approaches, what happens, and that's the reality, in many of them, data is a critical asset. Data, analytics, artificial intelligence, cloud services, the combination of all these technologies. So what happens is that companies that they want to be leading their respective industries, they need to master these data technologies. They need to become what we call a data-driven organization. And it's not just optional, it is mandatory if they want to keep being relevant in the market. Even very young companies like Grab, they are betting on data. They are betting on machine learning. They are betting on all these different analytical, strategies. So that means that any organization, even the smaller ones, from the very beginning, they should consider become a data-driven organization. Well, you may say, I don't know what is a data-driven organization. Give me a definition. I love definitions. I study math, as you can imagine. Everything should be formal for me. So I love this definition from DJ Patel, which is the ex-chief data officer in the White House, and Hilary Manson, a well-known data scientist. She has been working in many different organizations. But basically, a data-driven organization is able to master the technologies that help us, to create value from data. And not only to, to apply that for decision-making, but to create new products and be able to be more competitive in a sustainable way. And that's very important. So now that we know the definition, obviously we can start thinking about why we want this, because we can create these very powerful network effects. Basically, when we have users, each one of our users or consumers or clients, they will generate data. If we are able to record the right data, to capture the right data, then we will apply for different reasons, different algorithms that will help us to understand, better the consumer, better the customer, or better the product and the process that we're analyzing, and being able to give feedback using the insights of these algorithms to engage more with the users, to create more efficient services or products. And this will create this powerful virtuous cycle, these network effects that will help us, to accelerate our organization. Basically, we are aiming to create more automated processes and help engage, expand the intelligence of each one of our employees. However, and as you can imagine, this is not easy. According to IDC, Gartner, and many other companies that they are trying to understand and research this market, almost 90%, and depends a lot on the article, of companies are not successful in their data-driven projects. And you may say, why? Well, to be honest, there are so many reasons for that, well, I need to introduce some of them to you, because I want you to be aware about those issues, about what could happen in our, organization and what we could face. And you may think that the majority of them are linked to one particular aspect, which is technology. Well, let me tell you that it's not the case. Let's start with the operational point of view. So we can have problems because we are not able to, engage with the right key users that have the business knowledge. We don't go live when it's the right time. We are not testing the solution. The prototype works perfectly, but then we don't control what happens when we move this application to production, or we don't transfer the knowledge properly, and then no one is using our solution. It could be from the tactical point of view. We are not able to access the subject matter experts that will help us. We don't gather, the right functional requirements. We create unrealistic expectations. We promise the moon. We don't empower the decision makers with these tools. There is no alignment. So as you can see, there are many reasons, just for a tactical point of view. Or if we think from the strategic point of view, one of the things that I always, love to say is that we don't take into consideration, change management. That is extremely important because we are changing the way our organization is going to operate. Or we don't have, commitment from the top management. We need that support to, as you can imagine, to reduce all of these barriers. Another barrier that is very important, obviously, is cost. If we don't pay attention to the budget, if we are able to define the right metrics for our projects, we can fall into this cost overrun. And there are other reasons, such, for example, in the context of technology. Finally, we don't have enough data quality. We are trying to over customize our solution. We don't have knowledge about our data sources. We don't choose the right data platform. We have issues in the way we capture information, and information is always late. We don't select the right algorithm. So this is the point where technology, obviously, and where our experts should help us. And finally, people. We don't have involvement. We don't have the right resources. We don't have a team there is a huge rotation because, people is entering and going out the project because, for example, we are working with, our partners, or there is a huge and strong resistance to change. All of these reasons, this is the more common, and sometimes in some particular industry, in some particular aspects, there are others, leads to implementation failure. And it's very important to know about all these issues, because otherwise, we will make mistakes. To be honest, business intelligence that belongs to this kind of strategies, it was created a long time ago. We're speaking about the 50s, 1950s. Oh my God, long time ago. So after so many years, we're still making the same mistakes. So that's why it's so important to take into consideration all these details. So then you are going to ask me, hey, Joseph, how you are going to become, a data-driven organization? What we can do, which are the steps? Give us some tips. Good. The first thing that I need to tell you is that data has different needs. So you need to start thinking about data as a critical asset. We should make data available for the right users, accessible for them, provide data that has enough quality for our analysis, being able, to provide the information at the right time, not too late, not before on time, whenever is needed. We need to be able to secure our data assets. I'm sure, and that's very interesting that it was linked with the program that was commented, cybersecurity is becoming extremely important. If you are able to access the data of a company, you are able to know what is happening in that company, which are the type of customers, what they are doing, which are the strategies. So it's extremely important to protect those assets. And the last, our users, the decision makers, they don't want data. What they want is information. So we need to apply different algorithms. And as you can imagine, they are very different. They can be algorithms in the context of business intelligence, business analytics, big data, or machine learning and artificial intelligence to help them to make decisions. But we need them to give the insights to lead them to action. So what happens in many organizations? So there are many paths. One path is you realize that data is a critical asset and you're following the information management proficiency. You take care of data governance, you take care of master data management, you take care of data quality, you take care of the elements that makes your asset protected. It's like whenever you have a building, what do you do with the building? You clean it, you keep it in good, in good condition, You protect it with someone that's protecting the entry or the different entries in the building. You know exactly where people is entering in critical, parts of the building. It's the same thing we must do with it. This is what we call information management proficiency. Other organizations, they start with another path. They start mastering tools and analytical techniques. So they know how to cluster the customers. They know how to predict the next period for sales. They know how to recognize objects in images. They are mastering, languages like Python or R. So as you can see, we have like two ways, two starting points. However, let me tell you, there is another point of view, which is thinking about the culture, thinking about where the practice emerge. It could be in the line of business, in one particular department, finance, marketing, or many others. Or it could be, when we think about it, from a top management approach, enterprise driven. It's quite common that they emerge in some particular departments. So the idea is that we start and we have these analytical aspirations and we want to become a transform organization. And depending on the path that we follow, it could be more based on collaboration or more based on gaining this expertise. However, let me tell you one thing. Even considering one path or another, you reach a particular blocking stone, have reviewed before all these issues. When you reach that point, it means that it's required, to advance in one of the other paths. For example, if you want to analyze information in images because you are trying to, detect colors, for example. Well, if you don't have images, if you're not storing them, if you're not tagging them, it will be impossible. So it means that fits in the context of preparing the data set that we want to analyze. How to start? Well, we have different paths, but in any of them, what is extremely important is to know our maturity. We need to assess our situation, the capabilities that we have, and the maturity. Because companies are trying to make decisions based on data. But when they don't have a formal culture, what happens is many times, all this knowledge, all the practices are encoded in different systems, in isolated systems, or even in Excel. Once we know the situation, this will help us to develop, to create a roadmap that we require, to start, walking this journey. And from my experience, speaking with many companies and helping them, what happens is that these problems have few elements in common. So most of the times they create a data literacy program, not only for the experts, for the analytics team, but for the rest of employees that obviously they're going to be users of all these insights. They develop, linked to that, a change management plan to help us to develop this culture across the organization. They are taking into consideration, they are creating this data governance program to be able to treat, to be able to manage data as a critical asset. And the last part, obviously, is that they not only rely on third parties, integrators and vendors, but they create an internal team, the analytics team, that is going to be able to develop innovative solutions and to understand which are the right tools and the right strategies to generate, to answer the different questions that are required for a particular organization. What is important as well is that behind all of this, we will have technology. And this technology will support two different points of view at the same time. One of them is business. Everything will be about use cases. For example, understanding better the customer or predicting what is going to do the consumer, to try to influence that decision. And then we have the mechanism, to present these insights for the stakeholders. We will manage the insights and the data as a critical asset. And we will use technologies, to store and process the data is required to solve that use case. And we will have availability for different data sources. As you can imagine, the technology perception and point of view would be based on how we capture the information, how we store and process, how we protect the information, how we manage better that information, how we analyze, and how we present that information. So we need to combine these 2 points of view. And that's why we not only need data scientists or big data engineers, we not only need experts in business, we need sometimes another figure that's data translation, someone that is able to help and to put into common these two different points of view. For each one of these different elements, we have technology. And the technology, remember, it will be linked to this digital transformation. It must support optimization and innovation. As an academic, we love to classify things. Well, now we love to say, this belongs to innovation, this belongs to optimization. So for example, most of the times business intelligence, because it helps us to understand the past performance of an organization, we may say that it belongs to optimization. And those technologies that are linked to business intelligence will be in the same box. However, to be honest, what happens in reality is that in a project, we combine everything. And I want to remember this. When we speak about use cases, obviously, when we go to the last detail, we will speak about very concrete use cases, like the ones that I was presenting just at the very beginning. But all of them, they fit most of the times in these 5 boxes. They are linked to decision making. They are linked to operational intelligence. When I say operations, that they help us to create, to control better our operations. Hypothesis validation, problem solving, database, products and services, or data brokerage. We just create a marketplace for data. And as you can imagine, we will combine these different elements. The new ones are what we call advanced analytics, data ops, big data and data lakes, and external data. This is just a summary, because as you can imagine, this data platform has another level. When we open each one of those boxes and when we explain the technology that is behind. So with just this slide, we can spend hours and hours and hours if we want to explain all the different technologies and the use case, why it makes sense in the context of organization, how they combine with the rest of elements. What is interesting is this data platform has evolved quite significantly from the very beginning. A few years ago, we were just speaking about business intelligence. Nowadays, we speak about all these elements in a different way, and how we combine each other, how they interact. The data platform is a very interesting topic, and from 3 to 6 months, I need to review this slide. I need to review the components inside each one of the boxes for each one of the levels. That means that each organization must build or create their own data platform, and it will be different depending on your IT strategy, on your capabilities, and what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want a technology that controls everything? Or do you want to be a technology that just pay attention, to some particular aspects of your business, analyzing the data, engage that data. So as you can see, we have the full spectrum of options, from a private cloud to software as a service to build our platform. Each one of them, they have benefits and inconvenience. And as you can imagine, the more control that we want, we will play with private cloud. The more flexibility and the more orientation towards faster time to value, standardization, and lower cost will be software. However, if we go to software service, maybe we are not going to create very sustainable and competitive advantages, as you can imagine. Just to give you an example, what Netflix is doing is combining a little bit of the private cloud with, infrastructure as a service, when they need to increase their scalability to reach more consumers, because there are more viewers at the same time, they use this infrastructure as a service to have more capabilities. When they don't want, they are able to reduce the reach of their services, which makes a lot of sense in some situations. So one of the things that is very important when you are assessing the organization is which is your IT strategy that should be linked, it should be aligned with your data analytics strategy. But we have so many questions, and there are so many things that we need to solve and we need to understand as a part of this assessment. One of them is which are the short-term and the long-term goals that we have for our company and linked to data. The second question that we need to be able to answer is who are the supporters and who are the opponents to develop, to implement this strategy. As you can imagine, change management is extremely important, as has been repeated many times during this session. And then identify the conflicts that will appear in our particular organization. You already know some of them, but there could be more. And another aspect that is very interesting is like define the data platform, the system that we need, and the system that will help our experts to be successful, solving all these use cases. And last, thinking about cost and time horizons. Some of those platforms, some of those use cases, they take time. You need, to have enough information. Just to give you an example, nowadays we are seeing all these examples that use cases that highlight the success. Like for example, DeepMind a few years ago was communicating everyone that, oh, now we have a system that is able to play chess or to play Go, and is able to win the master of Go, why that happened? Well, the first aspect of that is that they had to encode all the different games, chess and Go, to have examples that the system is going to use to learn, to identify the patterns, to identify the different, strategies that you can use to play Go or to play, chess. And that takes time. So one of the key aspects that we need to think is, well, how much time it requires to gather enough information to have a feasible project. So that means that even imagine that you are able to implement all of these solutions, we still need to measure success. And in one of the slides, I was referring that 90% of the projects that the companies have implemented, they are not considered as a success. Why? Because they fail in different aspects. Let's review this framework that helps many organizations, to identify and to measure success. So we can measure success from the implementation point of view, on budget, on time. We can measure success from the user success point of view, which means that they are adopting, they are using the system, they are happy with the system, and they have just a minimal amount of small issues here and there from time to time. We can measure success from operational point of view, in terms of productivity, efficiency, effectiveness, or even, and sometimes happens a lot, being able to find finally the key performance indicators for our organization that we were not able to find before setting up all these projects. And finally, transforming the organization, which means that we are paying attention to return on investment, to the cost savings, to the impact on the customer, to the impact on society, to being able to create this sustainable transformation, for our organization. What I'm telling you is that we need to create a framework that is going to help us to measure the success and the value that we have been generating with these platforms. And we need to be able to measure success in each stage of our project. Otherwise, we are not going to be able, obviously, to understand what is happening. And it's very important to be able to establish realistic goals and expectations based on capability and maturity. That's why the initial assessment is very important. But we are going to assess our organization, from time to time, because I love to say that this is like the Pandora's box. Once you open, you cannot close it anymore. This is not like other systems, like think, for example, when you implement email in your organization, you implement email and that's it. It could be Outlook, it could be Gmail, or it could be other solutions. And email works, and you only need to pay attention things related with email, spam, many other aspects. No. One of the key aspects in the context of data is that we can reuse the data sources for different goals. We can reuse our platform for different roles. We can reuse the learning, in information management or tools, analytical techniques to expand, to generate more value, which means that we are going to transform. And in this transformation, we are going to find that there are many, many, many different projects. I remember in one of my trips speaking with one of the main telcos in Russia, they told me, for us, it was very important to find small quick wins. And those small quick wins, they help us to push the boundaries, to push a little bit farther our maturity. And after 3 years, starting very, very small, just trying to provide sometimes very simple questions, they were able to maximize, to expand, to engage different stakeholders, different managers and different departments. And when I spoke with them after 3 years, they already have 50 different projects running and related with analytics. 50 is a very, very, interesting number, because basically what I'm telling you is we are going to create a portfolio of analytical projects, because these projects, they don't just start and finish. They have a maintenance, because data change, and because data change, it's a reflection of your business. We need to change and we need to transform our analytical projects. So just what we need to remember from this session: 4 elements. First, we need to define our own data strategy, assess our situation and understand which are the steps that we're going to follow. Second, having an analytical team is extremely important. We cannot rely on third parties, on what they offer, what they provide. Data is a critical asset. If data is a critical asset, it means that being able to master the technologies that help us to generate insights from data and to embed these insights everywhere is extremely important. Third, we need to select and implement key projects to start. Projects that will help us to show this is working, this is relevant for our organization, and it works. And finally, create our own data platform. And as you can see, there are many flavors and there are many things that we can choose. And it will be linked to our IT strategy, and it will be linked to our approach to the market. Not all the organizations will create their own data platform from scratch, controlling all the elements. It will be a mix. So we need to choose carefully, and we need, obviously, experts in our organization to be able to build this platform. This is what I wanted to explain for today. It has been an honor. It's always so fun to introduce these concepts to everyone. I'm sure that some of them were already familiar to you. And let's jump to the questions. And obviously, if you don't have time today for the questions, you can contact me in the future. You have here my email, or if you want to know more about AI, for those that were not able to listen to the sound, but I think that in YouTube was working, you have Isma Hussein email as well, and you can contact her. Thank you so much, and looking forward to your questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Jose, for a very interesting topic, topic of discussion today. We have opened the chat box for the audience. If you have a question, you can just type in questions in the chat box. I will read the question for you. Anyway, Jose, I have a question to ask, while waiting for
fantastic.
others. Okay, so when we want to prepare our organization to embark on a data-driven approach, what are the challenges that we should anticipate?
Well, the first challenge will be that there will be stakeholders that are against introducing analytical technology within the organization. And let me tell you why. Because most of the times they create a transparency and they change the ownership of data. So that means that some key stakeholders, they believe that, this is my information and I'm going to share with the rest of the organization. I found that in many of the projects that I participate. I remember, and you will love a lot. They hired me as a consultant a long time ago. I went to the company, I arrived there, I said, okay, this is our project, this is why it's relevant. I said, let's review the different, potential sources that you have to answer this particular question. And then, when we were discussing, they told me, and these 50% of the data sources that you may use to answer this particular question, they belong to another department, but they don't know about this project, and we are not friends. And it was like, you are not friends? How we are going to implement this? That it's extremely important for everyone. If we don't have a collaboration between different departments, because this is beneficial for the organization. And in that case, and as a consultant, it was like, okay, so I cannot do anything. I cannot start my assessment. So I will sit down, I will wait, and we start reading the newspaper until you are able to set up a meeting with your department. And remember, you pay me by the hour. So it was a very, fun situation where, as a consultant, I was there. This is one of the main challenges, that you don't have an agreement in the whole organization to move forward these projects. And the other challenge is that your perception about the situation that your company is not real, not at all. You believe that you're already master business intelligence, that you're able to answer the fundamental questions. For example, who are your top clients? Who are your most profitable clients? How much cost we allocate per customer? So those are very simple questions. If you're not able to answer those very simple questions, it means that you're still not mastering business intelligence, because it's about past performance. So how you want to jump into machine learning or artificial intelligence if you are not able to answer the key, the what, who, where, and why questions are related with what we are doing right now. So thank you so much for your question. That's very interesting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if I can read some comments from the audience, we have from Dr. Mira Kartiwi, our one of our academician in IIUM. For your information, her expertise is also in business intelligence. Yeah, Dr. Mira Kartiwi. She put her comment here. 101% agree with Jose. Yeah? Data transparency will be bad news for traditional thinker businesses. Okay, perhaps later if Mira would like to add something, yeah, if we have the time. So I will move on to the next question, yeah, from our brother, Brother Rushdie. In the data network effects, it mentions more user, more data, and the data will be used to generate smarter algorithm. Will privacy of data be threatened in this world of data?
Well, when we think about these networks, as you can imagine, we're going to use mechanisms to engage with the users, to invite them to share their behavior through our different systems. I like to use, examples such as Netflix or Facebook, because they have created an interface to interact with the users that highlights some of those elements. Like, for example, they are adding, explanations, and that's very key, to engage and to create this powerful, flow. They have created explanations for the users. They tell you, for example, because you watch the Avengers, or you like superheroes movies, we recommend Spider-Man or Thor or Captain America. Or because you watch the Queen's Gambit, then we recommend a particular TV show. Or, for example, and this is becoming extremely important in some companies, that they are more regulated. Now, for example, in Europe, and I will link a moment just with the European context, we have the GDPR, and in the GDPR, it provides a particular context where consumers, they have rights on the data, and they can ask the companies to delete the data from the systems, even from the analytical systems, and they are able to create the curiosity in the regulator if some companies are working properly with customer data. So in that sense, being able to explain to everyone, for our stakeholders and for our users, what is happening in our algorithms, how they make a decision, when they fail, and why they fail, and when they are success, is extremely important. So that's why one of the trends that we are seeing in business intelligence, machine learning, and many other aspects in different domains in this industry, is that being able to explain and to interpret our decisions. That means that humans are able to understand, what the algorithms are doing, to engage not only this circle of sharing information, because you make everyone clear which is the value, but at the same time to be protected against future regulations.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then we move on to the next question, yeah, from Ibrahim, yeah. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. The question is, what were the common factors that influenced the success rate of using data? If focus on, I think he missing some words here. Oh yeah, he has a continuation there. Yeah. Among the different companies and organizations you have consulted so far.
Well, what is very important is to understand as much as possible, like an employee, like the founder of a company, what the company is providing in the market. One of my initial, long time ago, 10 years ago, oh my God, customers is online delivery service in Barcelona, in Spain, that was a startup, and they were starting and they were not able, so they have some issues. So the first thing that I did is to understand the issues. What is not working in your organization? Which are the critical points? Which are the things, no, that right now you will love to know, you will love to control, you will love to understand. Understanding the critical points will let us to understand the opportunities. And if we link, and if we identify that data is a key element to solve those opportunities, sometimes it's not the case, but in this case, some of them were linked to data. That is an extra benefit because it will link with what the company needs. And then obviously you need to assess, for example, in their case, having these delivery services, so they were not exploiting in an efficient way the information. They were not understanding which are the customers, when they don't return, what we can do. So what we did is to first classify the different customers using a very basic, because it was at the very beginning of their journey, using the RFM analysis, recency, frequency, and monitoring. And with that particular algorithm, we start classifying the consumers. Why was relevant this algorithm and not another one? Well, in this case, because when you purchase food and for delivery services, obviously it's all based on you have in your mind this particular brand. So you want to know which of your consumers are loyal, regular, sleeping, they are frequent. All those are the questions that we need to solve. So with that, we start the journey. And once we were able to have the initial success, like a campaign was targeted to those particular customers that were sleeping, that they forgot about us, but it was not long time ago. And then when we are able to activate those customers, this is when you find that there is a success. Obviously, it means that select the critical point, select a proper algorithm to solve that critical point, and create the metrics that will help everyone to understand the success. In this case, we are linking that to particular actions, campaigns, and finding which of those customers go from this status that they are sleeping to activate, and they go back and they answer, they do an action, in this case, buying one more time from the services. And I can tell you that they are very successful right now, and they have already 5 different brands. And by the way, something that's good, this is interesting. This is like a startup, but I've been working with big brands in the context of fashion. And for them, for example, the purpose was helping the designers to avoid issues when they want to create a piece, a dress, for example, that they can sell worldwide. Can you imagine the challenge? Being able to sell a dress everywhere. You need to pay attention to many details, many cultural aspects that could affect in each one of the countries. And sometimes the designers are engaged with the last, element that appear in the industry, materials, colors, the last party of a particular, actress, singer. Come on, and sometimes they got engaged in the designing process. What if we can create a system that supports the designers? We are not replacing the designing process. We are helping them to avoid issues. To avoid issues when they are already producing the piece, and then suddenly we are not able to sell that piece in a particular country because of that particular element. So this is a computer vision project where they identify elements, like a star, like a color, like many different elements that could be non-acceptable in a particular country. As you can imagine, here a critical success factor was first being able to recognize all the elements, to create a database of all the elements that could generate some kind of conflict in particular countries. So you need experts in cultural aspects of each one of the countries. And the second aspect that is extremely relevant is to have examples of all these elements in pictures, to be able to help the different designers in that. So basically, in case that they design something, because when you design a piece of of clothes, there are different stages, but one of them is using these CAD systems or similar systems to design the piece, or even just create a physical prototype and then create a picture, no, to discuss that with other experts in the organization. So with that picture, being able to recognize in advance if we have this small danger and help them. This is not pay attention to this, because this will limit, the chance to sell this piece, this dress in particular, to many countries. So as you can imagine, it changes a little bit from company to company, from use case to use case, but at least there is like a common ground, like critical points, critical answers that we want to solve, and which are the key assets that we need. Could be experts, could be data, and defining the metrics that will help us to understand the success. In the case of the fashion retailer, being able to identify these situations before the next iteration in the whole process of designing, and creating this new dress. Excellent question again. Thank you so much.
Yeah, indeed, a very, very good example as well. Yeah, I think we have another interesting question here sent to me via direct message. Yeah, which is very much related to data privacy. Okay, so when dealing with companies to do the analytics for them, how to deal with data privacy, because the company may release their confidential data to us. So what do you think about that?
Excellent question. Data privacy is becoming more and more relevant in all the industries. And first, let me tell you, it depends on the location, on the region, on the country. Different countries that have different regulations related with data. And this creates a very strong, huge complexity to organizations that operates in many industries at the same time. Why I'm telling you that? Because it's not the same. I had the chance to live in different countries. I've been living in UK. I've been living in Spain. I've been living in Australia. Now I'm living in Malaysia. But I had the chance to go to many places, and I always try to get a little bit about what happens in the context of data privacy. In some locations, there is no strong regulations, which means the company, they can do many things, and that means that they can share the data with third parties, and they can create these kind of services that initially they don't respect, data privacy. In some other countries, for example, the ones that have a similar regulation to the GDPR, even though it's not called GDPR, they have a strong regulation that companies should pursue, which means basically that they need to understand this regulation, what it means, and they should apply. Some of the aspects that obviously they need to do is to protect the data and to have a clear transparency with the customers, with the clients, what they are going to do with the data, and let them to enroll or de-enroll, from those services. Obviously, that means that if all the customers, they tell us, no, we don't want to share our data, it means that we don't have data to train our algorithms. So this is the part of the things that are happening. And as you can imagine, what happens is like, if they let us to use their data, so then we are responsible. If we are responsible, there are many things that we can use. And that's a field that it's growing very fast, because data privacy is linked with data ethics as well. So when I discuss with the organizations about this, we introduce different frameworks that we can use to discuss the concept of data ethics that is linked what we are going to do with the data, and if it makes sense, if we are going to create a positive impact on society, the companies, and our clients. And obviously, at the same time, we discuss the negative aspects. Some organizations, depending on the country, they told me, we don't care about that, Josep. So let's discuss about the use cases. No, it depends a lot. But in my humble opinion, we need to think carefully about the data privacy aspects of the projects. We need to think carefully how we are going to protect customer data, or the data that it's protected in our countries. And one aspect that I always said is like, think if you want, that your data is analyzed in a particular way. That's the best way to start this conversation. And then what you're going to do to protect this asset, to be sure that you're doing the right thing. And doing the right thing sometimes is complicated. But nowadays we start having techniques, no, like differential privacy and many other aspects that are emerging, or algorithmic fairness to discover if we are fair with the different groups, or interpretability and explainability that will help us to understand how decisions are made. So that's one of the topics that I love most, but because it's emerging and evolving so fast, and every day we are able to discover something.
All right. I have a few more questions actually with me, sent through private message, but it caught my attention. I think this one is very controversial now, yeah, by Muhammad Rushdie. Data in the world of social media is becoming cheaper. We see a lot of, information, images, video, audio, even text available on the social media just like that. So it's becoming cheaper. Do you agree with that?
Very, very good point. Well, cheaper. We need to think in terms of, who is what happens here. No, obviously for these organizations, we didn't realize what we're going to do with data. This is an economy. This is a trust economy. You were able to build the trust, no, that, and then suddenly we don't think carefully if what we are sharing with them, it makes sense or not. So something that in the past they were, spending a lot of money, through panel data and many other aspects. Nowadays, all these companies that they have this social channels interaction, well, for them it's quite easy because we don't think carefully that we are sharing all this information. And you may think it's just only my data, but when they aggregate thousands and millions of users and thousands of millions of interactions, well, it provides a clear understanding of some behaviors. And they play with us. They play with us to increase the value of those data sets. So for them, it will be cheaper. Because, for example, if you think for a moment about Instagram or Facebook, when they start playing with us with data, and we start publishing, do you remember a time with Facebook without pictures? Maybe some of you are young and you don't remember that. But there was a time people without pictures, and they were not sure that we were going to share that. It's quite personal, but they soon discovered that we love to show off, basically. And we start publishing pictures. And they realized, oh, if they publish so much picture and we want to analyze them, we need to have extended additional information. Oh, let's invite them to tag elements, to tag locations, to tag people. So with that, we are helping them. We are providing the value. We are helping them to classify all these different pictures, both Instagram and many on TikTok and with the videos. We are helping them, and later on they are able to analyze easier the information. So for sure, what is happening is like, because of our behavior and because we want to share information, we want to share what we do and what we are doing, what we bought, the places where we're going, our last holidays. Well, we are helping them to get cheaper data. It's not 100% cheap because obviously they need a platform and they spend a lot of millions of dollars to have a platform that supports all the data processing, all the data storing. So that's expensive, but obviously the way they monetize the information, it pays the effort. Otherwise, as you can imagine, they won't do it. Excellent, question. And we can discuss the question forever.
Yeah, indeed. If I wish I could continue. All right, so it's already 3:33. Yeah, so we had, I think, Alhamdulillah, we had a very fruitful session. Okay, we very interesting presentation as well as very good questions coming from the audience. Without wasting more time, I think before we end, I would like to highlight a little bit again, about the program offered by CITA, Center for IT Advancement. We have 2 master's program, MBIA and MPSM. So if you like to know more about our programs, you can log on to our website, CITA at IIUM. And then I would like to thank special thank to our honorable speaker, Jose Curto Diaz, for being with us today, sharing your knowledge, experience, and expertise, with regards to data. So thank you very much to all for joining us today. Perhaps we'll arrange more webinar in the future. Okay, inshallah. So I think that's about it. Thank you.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope that you enjoy this session, and see you soon.
Yep, our pleasure. Thank you very much and see you soon.